Hello, Rob here from the Flanagan Homestead and East Fork Christmas Tree Farms. Today is December 26th. We had an amazing Christmas with the whole family home yesterday, and unfortunately everybody else had to go back to work today except for me, so I'm going back to work on the farm. I've done a video in the past on winter shearing with a hedge trimmer. I've got my hedge trimmer on a stick. I can extend this even farther up if we want to. A lot of times I like to go, obviously my main shearing is in the summer, but a lot of times after the harvest season, I like to go through and, you know, we don't have enough trees, so we sold a lot of trees. So, and we had to keep a few around, but the ones that are still here, there's probably a reason they didn't sell because we were almost oversold. And typically, it's one of two things. Either it's a tree that has some bare spaces that hasn't filled in yet. If it's harvestable height, there's some spots that people didn't like. It wasn't a balanced tree. It wasn't full. And the other thing that happens quite often is the tree gets too bushy, and it maybe over the years we had a little bit of a wide angle. It got a little wider, and as the tree got tall, it was almost too big for some people, or it wasn't balanced sheared. So today I'm going to take some of those trees that were just a little bit too bushy, and before they have their growth next spring, I'm going to tighten them back down so that they can grow back out and grow at a nice angle. One of the things we have to be careful with, and I'll show you the difference of a few trees here in just a second, is some of the trees got way too bushy, and I'm going to have to bring them in quite a few degrees. And if I do that, there might not be buds set to grow new branches in there. So that tree really isn't going to grow much back out next year. It's going to look kind of bare. And so it's probably going to be at least 2 years before I sell that tree. But if I do this, it'll set new buds eventually, and it will grow out and it'll fill back in, and it can be sellable instead of just having it sit there for forever. So that's one of the things I'm going to be doing, is bringing it back in. And there are some trees that we notice over time that, you know, you shear at this angle on one side and a little bit wide on the other side. They're unbalanced, and so we're going to try to balance those back out and get the same degree angle on both sides of the trees. I'm standing in the Nordman fir section here, and this is a goodness 9.5 10 footer. I really thought this would have sold this year. It is a little bit wide, but I thought, you know, a lot of people like a big tree, and I'm kind of surprised this one wasn't taken. But I am going to tighten these edges down just a little bit. Now this one, it's obvious why it wasn't taken. This is another one that's about 10 feet tall, and it is just wider than all get out. You'd have to have a monstrous home to fill this in, and plus not only is it wide, but it stays really wide, and then it just kind of ducks in at the top. So I'm going to try to create some edges on this one. This is one of those trees that I'm probably going to have to cut back in deep enough into the branches that I'm probably not going to have many buds left, like you see out here on the tips. They're obviously always on the tips, but a lot of times you'll get some bud growth a little bit further back in there, and then those take off. But this tree definitely needs to be pulled back. And then here's another one that isn't as tall, but it is getting that wide squatty look. Because it's not so tall, I should be able to just create an angle on this one, create better angles. This side doesn't have a good angle. It comes out wide and then kind of drops this way, so I'm going to create straighter angles and get this tree a little bit more narrow. But I probably won't have to be so aggressive that it'll harm the growth, and we could potentially sell this one next year. Okay, this one I'm going to have to be really aggressive. It'll take a year or two to come back, but I got to really bring this trend back in. Well, this tree now has a shape that you might be able to put in your house in the following years, but you could see, especially up here where I really had to cut into it, we've got a lot of woody nubs. Hopefully there'll be enough buds that'll grow out and cover this tree, branches new come out, and then we could shear it and get even better angles, but it'll probably be a 2-year process. Should have done this tree before I made Christmas wreaths, because oh my goodness, look at the amount that we took off this tree. Just piles and piles of branches. Here's another tree that needs a little bit of help, but will be a very marketable tree next year. The color on the branches is good. It's got a lot of nice strong branches, but there's sections of the tree that are just open and will not, there's no buds in there, and the trunk is old. It's not ever going to grow back in there and fill in like our normal shorter trees. And actually we get a lot of people asking for what we call a mountain noble, where there's branches, space, branches, but the way we're growing them, the seed source and everything, we don't have a lot of those. But sometimes when I get these trees that have branches like this, I'll take my pruners in there and take out the branches where they're thick and create more space, and so that they'll sell that way. We've done it during sale season where things are slow. I go out and clip some of the trees that are like this, and 20 minutes later someone hauls the tree out ready to buy it. So I mean, I do it on slow days even when we're selling. We're going to try to grow more trees, not all of them, but some sections of our farm with mountain nobles where they're more layered, and so we're going to do different seed source, different fertilizing, different pruning techniques. That's a story for another day. But right now, I'm going to take this tree, and it takes quite a bit of time actually, or it can take a fair amount of time. But if you look around the farm here, you see that most of our bigger trees are gone now, and we got a lot more coming up, and there's more on the other side over there. But I need to sell the trees that have some height, and so I need my $100 out of this tree next year. So I'm going to go thin it out so that it will sell as a mountain noble. All right, not quite done, but I got to move on with the shearing. But in my experience, this tree will sell quite quickly next year. I did make a mistake. The one section, I have too big of a gap down here. Usually I try to grab the branch that I'm about to clip out and shake it, and so you can see which all branches are moving, and then clip it out. I clipped a branch that had some of the branches I wanted to stay in one section. So, but it's gonna be popular with someone next year. It only takes one person on a U-cut farm to want a tree. Here's another fatty right behind me, and not only is it fat, but it has no lines. It just goes out and then it rounds back down. So we're gonna bring it in and straighten the edges. Here's the one that's also too fat for its size, but it's also unbalanced. It comes out this side and it's got a much narrower angle. As I work down on the bottom here, I won't need to tip hardly any of the branches on this side because it actually isn't too wide. The shoulder needs to come out, but then on this side, the whole side of the tree is much wider, so the left-hand side, as I look at it from here, needs to really come back. So today you got to see a little bit of the cleanup of the fields after the sales season and getting the trees kind of shaped up and ready to go for when they hit next spring and start growing again. As always, thanks for joining me on the Flanagan Homestead, where Christmas trees are my business, teaching and cleaning horticulture is my job, and outdoor projects are my passion. Hope to see you again soon. Be blessed, everyone.